This is JP Bedell with SDA Lighting, and I've got Ted McDermott from JLC-Tech. Hey, Ted, how you doing?
Doing well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Good. For everybody that's been kind of hanging out, thanks for jumping in early and getting ready to go. What we're going to talk about today is JLC-Tech, and the purpose of these series that we're doing with our various manufacturers is to sort of answer common questions, right? And so we're going to walk through JLC-Tech and the offering. For those who don't know, who are on the watching this or watching the recording of this later, JLC-Tech replaces the grid in an acoustical grid ceiling, right? So they're an Armstrong partner. So that means Armstrong ceilings, but they also have universal clips for other manufacturers. But doing lighting that way in a space with an acoustical ceiling is a new way of working. And so if you're used to dropping in downlights or troughers, you might not necessarily be used to laying out a JLC-Tech job. And so we thought we'd walk through some of the most common questions we get. So Ted's the expert. I'm going to lean on him, and we'll go forward.
All right. Well, thanks again, JP, for setting this up. And yes, I am Ted McDermott with JLC-Tech. I'm the Northeast Regional Sales Manager for the company. We are based out of Massachusetts. We manufacture in the U.S., just in Pembroke, Mass., about 30 minutes south of Boston. The company, we patented the product in 2010, opened the warehouse in 2012, and we are still the only manufacturer that can manufacture and produce a light fixture that replicates and replaces the cross tees of a grid ceiling. Pretty much one rule is if the grid is exposed, we can replace it, and we are compatible. So we're pretty much compatible with any ceiling manufacturer and any grid ceiling tile type. As long as it's exposed, we can replace. So I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint, go through some slides, show some different applications that we've done, show some different optics. Feel free to stop me at any point with some questions, and let's go right ahead. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up my PowerPoint, and we will get rolling. All right. So is that looking good, JP?
Yeah, you look great.
Okay, good. All right, so Tbar LED, again, we are the only one that's seismically approved and patented to replace the cross tees in the grid ceiling. This next slide, this kind of indicates a little bit kind of how we work in the grid. In a grid ceiling, you have your main runners that run every 4 feet off or on center. Those are the structural elements of the grid. Those cannot be replaced or interrupted by our fixtures. We replace those non-structural cross tees. In a 2x2, 2x4, or 4x4 ceiling, those lengths would either be 2 foot or 4 foot. Those are good because there's only 2 foot and 4 foot cross tees. As you can see in the middle of that little image, you can see all of the green, blue, and even a pink image that indicates the fixtures and the different configurations that we can create with our fixture line. We do have options for larger, more non-conventional ceiling systems like a 5-foot tile, 6 foot, or 8 foot. We can accommodate those lengths as well, but usually 90% of what we do is a standard 2x2, 2x4, 4x4 ceiling. On the left, you see a little bit of actually our original patent drawing from 2010, a little bit of the technology behind the fixture, slightly raised fins on both ends of that LED compartment. So the tile is slightly raised just enough so that heat will dissipate upwards. Heat sits above, and again, we are the exact same dimension as the cross tee in the grid ceiling. So if you ever have plenum restrictions for one, if there's enough space for the grid, there's enough space for our product. Everything is plenum rated, IC rated. This is a 24-volt DC system, so a remote driver will sit up above the plenum, and I'll go over some additional information on that as well, but everything is plenum rated. Going to the next slide, just giving you an idea of an application, this open office space. Again, very clean. This is a 9/16 width 4-foot fixture that we're installing, replacing a 4-foot cross tee. So we're compatible with both widths of grid, 4 foot, 9/16 and 15/16. Again, a 4-foot or 2-foot cross tees. These are all 4-foot fixtures. With this spacing here, we're achieving about 40-foot candles on the desk level. I will go over some more IES kind of examples as well, so you can just see some different calculations that we have done. Another slide here. This is with a different optic of ours. This is our drop-down block diffusing fixture in a 9/16 width again. We're doing 2 4-foot fixtures to create an 8-foot run, a butted, in a Armstrong silhouette bolt slot style ceiling, so showing you another profile of ceiling that we're also compatible with. Again, with this spacing, with this layout, 9-foot, 10-foot ceilings, we're still in that 40-foot candle range. So sometimes with the minimalistic approach of our fixture, people think that this is more of an accent light fixture, but we are actually fitting complete outfits of buildings, multi-story buildings with this light fixture. This was the Red Cross headquarters in DC. We actually did all 3 floors of their new headquarters in DC with nothing but our 9/16 block diffusing fixture.
So Ted, I'm going to hold you up right there on that. Let's just go back to that application photo there for a second.
Yep.
So just to walk through for our specifiers, it looks like in this image, we're what, 6 foot on center with the
That's
fixtures?
correct.
And these are 2x2 panels that we're looking at?
Those are actually 4x4.
Oh, 4x4.
So,
Okay.
so,
These are 8 foot lengths.
correct.
Got it. And we achieved, do we know what our foot candle level was on this?
We're in like about, I think, because this is actually an application that we include in our at a glance brochure. I believe the accurate calculation is about 42 foot candles in the desk level here.
That's great. That's great. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you.
Cool. So we do calcs in-house quite a bit because of that reason. People, it's a little bit of a different concept having such a more minimal 9/16 width fixture. So we do have our IES, we do have our IES files on our website and Revits on our website for all of our optics, lengths, widths, and color temperatures, but we also do them in-house as well. A couple examples that we do provide just to kind of show. This on the left is a 20 by 20 space, 9 foot ceilings. You've got 6 4-foot fixtures, 15/16 width with our our original optic, our diffusing lens, which I'll go into a little bit more detail on what that fixture is. But you can see that at 9 foot ceilings, we're achieving 40 foot candles on the desk level in this space. Or another example on the right is a 60 foot by 10 foot corridor, 9 foot ceilings again. And you can see we're spaced out 8 feet apart. And we're achieving 25 foot candles on the floor with this configuration of fixtures. So some more examples there.
So then a rule of thumb then, New York City, we're going to talk about, 8 to 10 foot ceilings. Usually like a 9 is a good.
Sure.
I'm looking at this lower left example. The lower left example is the same as I'm seeing on the upper left, right? It's the same project?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And so with a 9 foot ceiling height in a 20 foot by 20 foot room, we were on center at 2, 4, 6, 8 feet apart. Got it.
Correct.
That's great. That's great.
So on the installation side, we have 2 styles of clipping method. For one, when we first started the company, we came out with a universal bracket. So it's pretty much a simple saddle bracket that just saddles over the grid and bolts right on. I actually have a little mechanical piece here. As you can see, 1 hex screw just saddles over and will bolt right onto that grid. And then we also have a Armstrong compatible clip. So Armstrong actually provides us with this clip, and this is actually a toolless snap-in installation. So this clip would just snap in like a standard cross tee. The big benefit, besides it being a toolless installation, is that it's also seismically rated by Armstrong, so no tie-off for the fixtures required. So snap, snap, your installation is complete. You lay your tiles back down, no cutting or modifying the tiles. Installation is as simple as that. If you do need that seismic rating, it is on our website underneath the installation tab. There is the downloadable PDF for that seismic rating that we do have for our fixture line when using the Armstrong clip. Creating shapes and patterns. So with our fixture, we need to follow the rules of a grid ceiling. We can't just go end to end with products because everything in a grid ceiling connects in a T formation. So for this, we developed a specific fixture model called the 4L. You can see a couple images of it in this bottom left corner, and then up top, we did a little drop down kind of illustration of it as well in that simple kind of rectangle configuration. So what the 4L model is, it's a 4-foot fixture, but you only have 2 feet of optic. And you can choose from pretty much all of the optics that we offer. The other 2-foot portion of the fixture is extruded aluminum to match the profile of the grid ceiling. And then when you come in and snap a standard 2-foot or 4-foot fixture into the center of the 4L, that's when you get your abutted look of a 90-degree angle. This is, sometimes there is some confusion with this, but just to kind of clarify, we are more than happy to help you review an RCP, help do detailed layouts indicating where your 4Ls are required, where we suggest main runners to be located, because we are combining 2 building elements in one, a lighting element and a grid ceiling piece. So there is a little bit of a learning curve. So we're always happy to help with our inside team as well. Some cool applications that we have done with the 4L model. This is a elementary school out in Utah, Butler Elementary. They wanted to do mountain ranges throughout their corridors. So this is where we received a full copy of the RCP months before the release of the PO. We indicated where mains should go if they had to be doubled up 2 feet apart in some areas instead of 4 feet. And then we double checked the BOM, shifted fixtures if they had to be shifted slightly. But they did 2 full floors all the way down doing this mountain range configuration, even matching up the design with the carpet, the pattern in the carpet. So that came out really nice. Or this is another office space here, Unum Therapeutics in Cambridge. The end user wanted something fun and interactive with the main gathering space of the office. On the left and the right in the open office areas, they did more of a standard linear run look, but this area, again, we reviewed that RCP, helped them indicate where the main should go, double checked that they were using the 4L properly, came out with another nice application. This, Robinson Middle School in Little Rock, Arkansas, they wanted to do this hanging pendant, but then give a 3D effect in this application and install our fixture above in the grid. So again, using those 4Ls and our standard products to create these cool configurations and kind of give a 3D effect throughout this cafeteria in this application.
Very cool. That's a cool shot.
That's nice. Kind of an interesting kind of study that we did a couple of years ago. So we always figured with our fixture, minimal installation, minimal installation costs and time. We're not cutting grid, we're not cutting tiles, we're not having to build a linear slot. So a couple of years ago, we did a case study with a contractor out in San Francisco. They were redoing their office space and they had installed our fixture on a couple different applications and they really enjoyed it. They thought it looked great. So they had reached out to us for an accommodation. We provided them with some product, but we said, can you just do us a favor? Can you do a bid comparison for us? How you would bid our product compared to another product you choose. We figured that they were going to choose a linear, but they actually did just a basic 2x2 LED flat panel. And they did 10 of our 2-foot fixtures compared to 5 2x2s. And based on just the installation costs of additional materials that were required for the install, the total labor hours of the job, and the labor per unit cost, they calculated close to a 50% installation savings. I use this as a tool to help educate contractors that they don't need to charge a Cadillac price on the installation because they haven't used this before. It's actually going to save them quite a bit of time on the job. So I use this more as a tool along with our installation videos to help them bid the product properly. That's kind of what I use.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And the thing that I want to just reiterate for our specifiers out there is a piece like this, you know, these numbers may or may not translate to New York, right? Like they may or may not translate to your specific job. It's really more a matter of cost comparison, right? Because of what we're doing to reduce the overall labor to get this done.
Absolutely.
Which kind of, Ted, I'm not sure what's next in your slides, but it makes me think about the driver situation and how we share and install drivers. It might be something, this might touch on that pretty well right now.
Definitely, and I'll kind of get to that in a few more slides, but I think looking at this, even just the total hours that were required to make these installations, that's kind of a good, you know, it's not going to take you more time or an excessive amount of time to use this fixture to install. It's especially with the Armstrong clip, it's a snap-in toolless installation. You don't even need to tie it off to the structure. So sometimes contractors just don't know that ease of installation. So it can be a good tool to reiterate. To get into some other ceiling systems, this is regarding Armstrong Vector. So Armstrong had reached out to us a couple of years ago to come up with a solution for their Vector tiles. Vector tiles takes a 15/16 width reveal of grid, and it narrows it down to a 1/4 inch reveal, which can be definitely difficult to place a linear product with. We created a specific profile to be compatible with Vector, where we elongated the aluminum frame you see in that bottom left corner. We elongated our aluminum profile to go down in between those tiles. So if you are specifying Vector, it is a nice linear solution, and there's minimal solutions for this. I've heard it is an more expensive tile system, a little bit nicer to look at for a 15/16 width grid, but we do have a solution for Vector tiles. Again, some key benefits of the fixture line: restrictions in plenum space. We take up no additional space than the grid. You can drop your HVAC unit directly on top of the fixture. We don't need to work around what else is going on above the plenum. Improved acoustics. We're not removing tiles. We're not cutting holes in tiles. The acoustic properties of that ceiling are staying 100% intact, along with the reflectance of those tiles as well, because they're all going to be there. Going into some next slides. I'm going to get through just some of our optics that we offer, and then I'll go over the drivers. So the first one is our original optic, our diffusing lens. So this is still our #1 seller. It's a clear microprismatic lens to give us the maximum amount of lumen output. It provides a very nice direct light. Maximum lumen output, but helps control that glare with that prismatic lens. Small office application here, the 9/16 width 4-foot fixture. You got 4-footers in there. You probably could have done with 2 with all that natural light coming in. Armstrong Woodworks grill ceilings. This has become a very popular ceiling. This is actually the Armstrong Woodworks grill tegular tile. So it's still a standard ACT ceiling. You're laying in that wood tile, but those black 4-foot cross tees are still exposed. We're replacing those 4-foot tees, actually doing the fixture in a black frame instead of the standard white. We can match any color, but definitely a good option for the woodworks. You're not having to cut in holes for downlights. You're not having to install a fixture above that, which may create some awkward shadowing. Just a nice, clean solution for the woodworks. Kind of a cool system here, this open tile concept that we did out in St. Louis. And again, these were different clouds that they had set up. And we were doing a 90-degree angle in each corner and then kind of a little bit of a pattern in the center of each cloud. So another different type of ceiling system. Newer application that we just finished up at Logan Airport in Boston. We got the new Terminal B. We did all the different gates for American Airlines and the baggage claim. So hopefully when things are up and running, next time you come into the city of Boston, if you fly in American, you'll see our product. Asymmetric lens. This has been a great seller. This is our offering for a wall wash. It suggests 1 to 3 feet off the wall. I really think 1 foot is a little bit hot. I think the further back you go off the wall, the better. This is actually 3 feet off the wall, 9/16 width, 2-foot fixture. And you can see we're spaced out, nice even illumination of that wall, no scalloping, very minimal profile that's being shown, dropping below the plenum, below the ceiling plane. This has been very popular with our fixture line. Just very clean, very minimal, does a really nice job. So that's the asymmetric. Getting a little bit more decorative, we've got our drop-down acrylic fixtures. This is our clear block lens. So what this is it's a solid 1-inch block of acrylic that drops down about 1 inch. I can make it as minimal as 1/2 of an inch if you wanted a smaller drop, or I can actually drop the lens all the way down to 9 inches in depth. What we do here is we frost the upper portion and the bottom portion of the acrylic, and we apply secondary film so there's no diode visibility with this fixture. Some different applications. This was a pretty expansive application that we did out in Little Rock last year, Bank of the Ozarks, their new headquarters. They did multiple floors, nothing but our block diffusing lens. Another Armstrong Woodworks grill ceiling. This one with the horizontal blades instead of the vertical blades, and replacing those cross tees again. This is, again, the Armstrong Woodworks grill tegular tile. We are compatible with the other Armstrong Woodworks systems, their backer and their backer dowel. We have recently developed a new clipping system to be compatible with those because the grid is actually concealed with those 2 ceiling systems.
Ted, we got a question that came in from our own Dave Yussel. He asks, are you guys working with Armstrong Metalwork ceilings?
We are. Metalworks, another great option. Again, when we can provide that fixture in a custom color of a gray or a silver, and actually have a signage application shot that's coming up where it's installed in Metalworks. So good question. Fully frosted version of the block lens. So this is where the block lens is frosted on all sides. So the previous one, the clear block lens, has the sides clear with just the top and the bottom frosted. This version has all sides frosted. Kind of a cool application here, Arizona State University. They did this hanging pendant, and then our fixture is installed in each separate cloud, where you've got a 4-foot fixture and then 2 2-footers snapping into each side of the 4-foot fixture to create and complete that cloud ceiling. So acrylic signage, we can laser etch wayfinding, company logos, directionals. It can be single-sided, it can be double-sided. I can white out or black out the back so you don't see it in reverse. Or maybe you like that deeper drop, that decorative aspect, like that lobby on the left. In Seattle, they did frosted all sides, but I've done plenty of applications where they've left it clear. Here's it with a static blue, St. Mary's Hospital in Michigan. They did the static blue. And again, this starts at 3.5 inches, the drop of the signage, but I can go as far down as 9 inches in depth. Here is your Metalworks. This is a concourse in Canada where they did it in a 2x2 Metalworks ceiling. And that's actually with the 9-inch drop, paired it up with our diffusing lens fixture for some supplemental light. But very nice option for signage. And this can be repurposed as well. If the space changed and you had to replace the signage, it's really as easy as us popping off an end cap, sliding out that acrylic and sliding a new piece in of whatever design. If that space has changed, you're doing company people's names. So it's very easy to transition the signage. A newer one of our options is our fully indirect product, the T-bar up. So if you're looking for a minimal indirect, this comes down about 2 inches from the ceiling plane. So maybe you have a lower ceiling height, 8 foot, 8.5 foot ceiling height. You want an indirect option, so that's not going to come down 12, 16 inches. This could be a good option. And it performs very well with that reflector shield. Right here, we're at a 10-foot center. We're achieving 50-foot candles in the desk level. So 10, 12-foot centers, we're seeing this work very well in large open office spaces. We're actually working on a very expansive Fidelity Mutual office in Boston right now, where they're just doing their full open offices with just long linear runs of this T-bar up, our full indirect product. Our multi-reflector, this is kind of our play off of a mini parabolic, mini louver, very quiet 45-degree sharp punch of light, giving you a nice light level on your task, keeping your walls dark, available in black, white, or chrome reflectors. An example here, this conference room here, they want to shut off those downlights along the perimeter, darken the walls, get any glare off those screens, those monitors, and they still have a nice light level on that conference room table. So that is our cutoff or our multi-reflector. And the next one is our T-bar 2. So we actually combined a portion of that diffuse. It's a dual optic, dual circuit fixture. As you can see, it's a portion of our diffusing lens matched with a portion of our cutoff reflector. This is another solution that I've promoted for conference rooms, training facilities, facilities where you want to be able to go back and forth between two optics. As you can see, when you're just doing your general ambient light, you're having a discussion, you've got the diffusing lens on, you can see your light levels on the right side, you've got a little bit of glare on the screen, but then maybe you want to drop that glare, do a PowerPoint, do a video conference, you shut off that diffusing lens, turn on your cutoff reflector, the walls are now dark, you've dropped that glare, and those light levels have now improved on the conference room table. You got a little bit of a delay. I'm not getting any sound from you, JP.
How about now? Got a call. We got a question from our own Jerry Cullen. He asks, what is the cost comparison for your indirect products compared to like a typical linear?
Sure. So as a budget price, I really give out a range of $80 to $100 a foot, depending on the optic. With the indirect, it's definitely going to be more in that 100 a foot range. Same with the signage. If you're looking at your basic diffusing lens, asymmetric, you're going to be lower in that 80 a foot range.
Got it.
And then we get into some of our other options, RGBW, tunable white. Again, that's going to be in that higher range. Plus there is an additional percentage that will be put on top. But we are offering both RGBW and tunable white. RGBW and tunable white are available in most of the optics. I believe all of the optics except for that cutoff reflector mini parabolic look. But you can see an example of it with the asymmetric there. And again, with the block lens, we're offering two types of controller for the RGBW. One would be an ELDO LED controller for DMX, your basic DMX controls. Or we're also offering a Kasambi controller, which is a wireless Bluetooth option where you just download the free app to your tablet or phone, and you can make those color changes right from your tablet or phone. The W on these fixtures does get up to 100% output like the standard product, so you do have that usable white light for this option. Power supplies. So our standard 100-watt driver. This is a universal driver. The 100-watt driver powers up to 12 feet of product. Everything's 0 to 10 volt dimming. Say that you had a larger space and you had a lot more fixtures. We also offer a pre-wired 4-pack of drivers, as you can see there on the right. And that is 4 drivers pre-wired with 1 junction box. So you bring your line voltage in and now you have 48 feet pre-wired ready to go. Again, everything is 0 to 10 volt dimming, dims down to 1% as a standard. And also you can see there is a wiring gauge chart on this as well. So say that you had your driver, how far can your furthest fixture go without having a voltage drop? If you were just using 18 gauge cable, we indicate 30 feet. If you drop it down to 16 gauge cable, 45 feet. And if you drop it down to 14 gauge cable, you get up to 70 feet from the driver to the furthest fixture. So you can really get some good distance from these remote drivers to those fixtures.
So I want to touch on this for a second for those who are doing layouts or thinking through this. If you've got a relatively low, I'm thinking about healthcare spaces in particular, Generally speaking, healthcare environments have lots of other gear in the ceiling, right? So air
Absolutely.
handlers and negative pressure machines and the I-beams that hold up ICU units, all kinds of gear is up on those ceilings. These remote drivers can live nearly anywhere in the ceiling space that gets out of the way of everything else. And the low voltage wire, for those who maybe have never run this before or don't know, doesn't have to be in a conduit. It doesn't have to be in any sort of a solid enclosure. So the electricians in the field can really whip this wire from fixture to fixture around obstructions as necessary. So especially if they're using a heavier gauge wire, it gives them a lot of flexibility to get around existing obstructions in a ceiling.
Absolutely. And I thought this would be a good time to also introduce our new EM battery kit. This was something that we were going to highlight along with a couple other products that we're now going to kind of slowly release at Education. That was supposed to be a couple weeks ago. So we have always, for emergency egress, we had always paired up with a microinverter. That microinverter would be paired up with our driver, which then would power those fixtures off of that driver and that microinverter. We are now offering also just an EM battery backup kit. So you have one of our drivers paired up with a battery backup, pre-wired to a junction box. We also provide the light indicator that it works. So this will power up to 8 feet of product for up to 90 minutes as required. And this will power them at about 30% output. So either one single fixture or expanded over 8 feet of 30% output. So this is a newer offering that we do have. And it's compatible with all of our products. As you can see, the Tbar LED line, Tbar Up, Tbar 2. So that is a new offering from us as well.
That's great. That's awesome.
So that is pretty much the PowerPoint. I did want to also touch on Design Flex by Armstrong real quick. So let me just pull up our brochure for that. Actually, I'll pull up the website. So is that showing as well? Nope, let me unpause.
Not just yet.
There we go.
Lost you there for a second. So while Ted's working on that, I mean, I think the message that we want to get across and we want to share is that JLC-Tech is one of the first companies in this market to be replacing the T-grid and is still the innovator in this market. It's been something that we're proud of. Lots of options. I think people see application photos and think it's only a linear downlight, but asymmetric, indirect, block diffusers, lots of great ways to touch up the architecture.
All right, so how's that?
There we go.
So Armstrong we have a nice little partnership with them on developing products. They came out with Design Flex probably almost 2 years ago now, which it's no longer just your 2x2, 2x4 ceiling. It's all of these different variations of angled brackets to create diamonds, triangles, zigzags, all sorts of fun geometric shapes and patterns. So we came out with a full product line as well called Tbar Flex. So again, a toolless, seismically rated installation where we just snap right into their grid system and we can pretty much create any design that you could think of. And some examples here, just diamond shapes, diagonals, very pretty fun color schemes that they've developed as well for this ceiling system. They just launched their cloud ceiling applications for this as well. So if you are ever specifying Design Flex, we are one of the only manufacturers that has a compatible system for this as well. Kind of our little cheat sheet, but yeah, feel free to go visit the JLC-Tech website. When you do get to that landing page, you'll see many selections. One will be Tbar LED, that's our flagship line, but also you'll see Tbar Flex on there. Also, we do offer a POE option as well if you are starting to look into POE a little bit more as well. But yeah, feel free to download PDFs of all of our marketing materials, our brochures, some good installation videos, and plenty of additional information. So
that's excellent. Ted, thanks so much. I really appreciate you jumping on and doing this. These are some crazy times, but we're trying to find new ways to get the information out there. And thank you to everybody that signed in. We'll have this up on the web for reference if you want to share with colleagues after the fact, or just go back and reference anything that we talked about. Ted's information is easy to find. We're at SDA. We're easy to find. Contact your everyday outside sales rep, and we'll make sure you get you anything else you need.
Thanks a lot, JP. I appreciate you setting this up.
All right. Thanks, Ted. We'll talk
Take
soon.
care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.